I've been doing some thinking lately about Facebook, Twitter, and social media in general. And mostly about Facebook and how there's this big backlash against the privacy settings on Facebook, and rightfully so. But what people are so quick to not really think about is the fact that just because you're on Facebook and you don't like what's going on and you leave it doesn't mean that they're not a powerful force to be reckoned with. And by not being on Facebook, what are you missing out on? People like tech luminaries like Leo Laporte, Jason Calacanis, and 3,000 other people in general or so dropped Facebook recently. Leo Laporte, I feel like he's leaving out a huge segment of people who want to stay on top of him. I mean, yeah, he's on Buzz, he's on Twitter, he's all over the place. You can find them. But Facebook was another medium where he could connect with people. Jason Calacanis, I get everything he says. I get his newsletter. I understand what he says about Mark Zuckerberg and how technically Mark Zuckerberg is evil. I get that. And there's 3,000 plus people that quit. I get that as well. I get why people are uncomfortable with that. But Facebook does provide value, and they know that. Now, with that in mind, they really do have to realize that they can't go from public to private and private to public as quickly as they've done. And they can't just opt everyone into sharing everything outward. Now, they should explain it better, and a lot of people aren't aware of how public Facebook is. But if you set your settings correctly, it can be quite private. And it's until the next iteration, and they can always change it they can always change it to public. But when you think about it, Facebook provides a lot of value. I mean, I personally keep up with a lot of people from high school on it, college. I keep up with people that I would normally not know anything about. I would just lose touch with them. And even now, I'm not really close with them, but it's nice to figure out where people are in life and share your joys and your sorrows and really connect with people. It's really a social network. Now, I'll be the first person to say I think Facebook is inherently evil. I think that their underlying motives are self-serving, and they're not out for the user base, which I think is a big issue they need to address, because they need to be out for the users. Without their users, all 500 million of them, they're nothing. Just like what happened to MySpace. Something better came along, and everyone left MySpace. There's still some people there that like it, but the turn the people turn on these companies is so quick. And they've got to realize that, yeah, right now they're at the top of the heap, but down the road, they might not be. And they need to, if they want to, even if there is a competitor out there like the Diaspora that's coming out from the NYU students that just graduated, or any others out there will be a competitor if they want to stay relevant. They need to make sure that they don't screw over their user base. Because the minute an alternative comes out, everyone's leaving. All 500 million of them. Or maybe not 500 million, maybe 100 million. There's still 100 million people that advertisers are not going to have to advertise on the platform. Now, as far as people like me and people like, social networkers and marketing people like myself, web designers like myself, and people, even business owners, you need to be on Facebook. You need to target those people in your area that are consumers of your products, that are of your services even. You need to be on Facebook. You need to utilize the network. Regardless of how evil they are, you have to weigh the pros and cons. And right here, being on the network is so much more of a pro than it is a con. And you just got to take that into account and really think about what you need to do and what your goals are. And Facebook, though they have their issues, is a great place to be, to network with people, to reach out to consumers that might want your products through Facebook pages or Facebook groups. It's a great place to interact. It'll never be AOL, what AOL was back in the early 90s, as the portal to the web. I don't think it will ever be that way. Some people it might be, but I think it's an intranet within the web, and that's what I think it is. But now, I mentioned Twitter very briefly at the beginning. Twitter is public. From its inception, it never sold itself as a private way of sharing 140-character tweets or messages. Not once. It's always been public. There is a feature to make it private if you so wish. I highly suggest against that, because the whole idea of Twitter is to be public and to share your thoughts and ideas on there. But Facebook started out, if people don't really know this, started out as a college network. It actually started out as a way for Zuckerberg himself to meet girls. He hacked, keyword here, into the administrative databases, at least he allegedly did, and got all the pictures of the girls, and wanted to meet all these girls, essentially. I mean, you can read it in the books, it's very well documented. But it grew from the college sphere, one college at a time, to another college at a time, in 2005, 2006. And then it grew out and it exploded on the scene 2006, 2007 for everyone to be using. It's a great network to be on. It's a great way to network with people. There are security holes. And we've talked about it on the social media podcast constantly. Every week with Neil and Jody. Neil's a big proponent of using Facebook, but using it smartly. As am I, as is Jody Raines, our cohort in crime on addicted to social media. But what everyone needs to know is, just getting rid of Facebook, you're ripping out this big part of the online community that, it's not, it might be a morality thing, but you also gotta realize what you're missing out on. And people like Jason Calacanis and Leah Laporte, though they keep on saying that if I'm on Facebook, I'm encouraging people to use this service that's not, they don't value their users. Granted. But they also got to realize that by not being on, they're not connecting with the users that are already there. And they need to realize that and possibly go back on. Now, I heard a little bit on this This Week in Tech that Leo said he's back on Facebook. I don't know if that's true or not. Honestly, he doesn't want to be on there. All the more power to him. But before you drop Facebook, or any network for that matter, you have to weigh the pros and cons. And most of the time, if your users are there, you want to be there. And that's all there is to it. What's going to get you the most benefit? And weigh the pros and cons. So that's it for now. Check out the social media blog at a2sm.com. You can check us out on our podcast almost weekly. Lately it's been a little bit more sporadic, but you can check it out weekly at a2sm.com. There's also archives of the past 18 episodes of that podcast with me and Neil and Jody, and earlier on with Phil Bauman. You can also check out my personal blog at SethGoldstein.net. You can also check out the corporate blog of Goldstein Media at goldsteinmedia.com. Not blog, but site. And you can find me on Twitter at Seth Goldstein on Twitter. So take care, guys. Hope this insight helped out.